4,356 square feet. That's it. That's the entire piece of ground we're talking about today. 1/10 of an acre, about the size of a suburban backyard. And most people look at a plot that small and see a lawn with a swing set on it. I'm going to show you how to turn that same patch into 1,500 pounds of food a year, protein included, without ever asking a landlord, a zoning board, or a feed store for permission. That's not hype. That's the layout, and it's the same layout market gardeners have been quietly using to grow six figures on land smaller than a fast food parking lot. By the end of this video, you'll have the full 7-zone blueprint, where every bed goes, where the trees go, where the animals go, how the water moves through it, and how the compost feeds all of it. You'll know exactly what fits in each zone, which crops and animals earn their square footage, and which ones are just Instagram bait. This isn't theory. This is the layout you can walk outside and start marking with stakes tomorrow morning. Here's what's happening on most small urban lots right now. You've got a lawn that costs you $60 a month to keep alive between the mower, the water, and the fertilizer, and gives you back exactly nothing. Meanwhile, your grocery bill for a family of 4 is running $1,100, $1,200 a month, and the produce section keeps shrinking while the prices keep climbing. A head of organic lettuce is nearly $6. A pint of raspberries in January costs more than a bottle of wine. And every week, you drive to a store, hand over your money, and drive home with food picked green in another country, ripened in a truck, and sitting in your fridge for 3 days before you eat it. That's not food security. That's a paid subscription to an industrial supply chain that reserves the right to cancel you at any time. And it's not your fault. Nobody sat you down as a kid and taught you that 1/10 of an acre could feed a family. The suburb was designed to be a place where you sleep and consume, not a place where you produce. Zoning codes, HOA rules, seed catalogs, the mainstream homesteading industry, they all whispered the same lie. Real food takes real land. 20 acres, a tractor, a barn. Anything less was cute, a hobby, something for your kids to look at on a Saturday morning. That whole story was written by people who profit when you buy your food from a truck. The truth is quieter, older, and a lot more useful, and it fits on your lot. Before World War II, most American cities were quietly feeding themselves. Victory Gardens in 1944 produced roughly 40% of the fresh vegetables consumed in the United States, most of it grown on plots smaller than the one you're standing on. Go back further and you'll find the market gardens of Paris in the 1800s, walled kitchen plots of about an acre, fed by horse manure that produced enough vegetables to feed the city year-round through winters cold enough to freeze the sin. The knowledge to do this hasn't been lost. It's been buried under lawn seed. Every layout I'm about to walk you through is a modern version of a system that fed families before feed stores, grocery chains, and lawn service companies existed. If you're serious about turning 1/10 of an acre into a working food system, subscribe and hit the bell right now, because I put a complete site planning guide as a free gift for the 50,000 subscriber milestone, and I'll tell you exactly how to grab it later in this video, but you need to be here for it. Zone 1. The Keyhole Kitchen Garden. This is the zone you build closest to your back door, and it's the single most productive square footage on the entire property. We're talking about roughly 400 square feet of intensively planted raised beds, laid out in a keyhole pattern so you can reach every square inch without ever stepping on the soil. Compacted soil is the #1 killer of urban gardens, and most people compact theirs into a brick by year 2 just by walking on it. 4 beds, 30 inches wide, with narrow paths between them, deep enough to grow a carrot and a beet without arguing with a rock. Interplant everything: lettuce under tomatoes, radishes between the carrots, basil tucked around the peppers. A well-run 400-square-foot kitchen garden produces between 400 and 600 pounds of vegetables in a single season, which is more salad than most families can eat before it bolts. On our lot, we ran this exact footprint for 1 season and pulled almost 500 pounds of tomatoes, greens, and root crops without a tractor, a rototiller, or a single bag of purchased fertilizer. But the kitchen garden alone doesn't feed a family. It feeds the daily plate. For the rest of the calories, we have to look up. Zone 2, the vertical growing walls. Every fence, every south-facing wall, every trellis on your property is unused acreage standing on end. Most urban homesteaders never plant a single vine on their fence, and they leave 40 to 60% of their growing capacity sitting empty. This is the cheapest expansion you'll ever build. Cattle panels bent into arches, cedar trellises against a fence, hog panels wired to steel T-posts. None of it costs much, and all of it doubles your productive area without adding a single square foot to your footprint. What earns space on the walls? Pole beans, cucumbers, Malabar spinach, indeterminate tomatoes, small winter squash, and hardy kiwi if you've got a warm corner. A 10-foot cattle panel arch planted on both sides will produce 40 to 60 pounds of cucumbers and 30 pounds of pole beans in a single season. That's 100 pounds of food from a piece of ground the size of a doormat. I ignored my fences for the first 2 summers, which I now realize was the growing equivalent of leaving $100 bills in the driveway. Don't be me. Plant the fences before you plant anything else. And if you're renting or you can't put screws into the fence, freestanding cattle panel arches over your paths solve that problem in an afternoon for under $100 in materials. But vertical growing is only the second story of your food system. The third story is planted in wood. Zone 3, the dwarf fruit ring. On 1/10 of an acre, you don't have room for a standard orchard, but you have plenty of room for a perimeter of dwarf and espaliered fruit trees running the property line. Trees on M9 rootstock stay under 8 feet tall and can be planted 3 to 4 feet apart when trained flat against a fence or wire. 1/10 of an acre has enough perimeter to fit 12 to 16 dwarf apple, pear, or plum trees along the edge, most of them producing 30 to 50 pounds of fruit a year once mature. That's 400 to 800 pounds of fruit annually from ground you weren't using anyway. Speaking of ground you weren't using anyway, that's the mindset the Before You Buy Land guide walks through when it talks about matching land to goals. Whether you own the lot or you're planning to buy one, the guide has a whole chapter on soil, drainage, and sunlight that saves you from planting fruit trees in the wrong corner. I've linked it in the description, and there's a QR code on screen. Grab it. It's the difference between a fruit ring that produces for 30 years and one that dies in 5. But the ring isn't where your soft fruit lives. That's the next zone. Zone 4, the perennial berry and herb edge. Between your trees and your raised beds, you've got a strip of ground that most urban homesteaders waste on mulch and decorative shrubs. That strip is the highest return real estate on the entire property because every square foot of it is planted once and produces for the next 15 to 20 years. 12 raspberry canes will give you 30 to 40 pounds of raspberries a year. 6 mature blueberry bushes will push out 40 to 60 pounds. 2 dozen strawberry plants tucked as a living mulch under the bushes will give you another 20 pounds. Add a tight row of perennial herbs, thyme, oregano, chives, sage, rosemary if your winters allow, and you've eliminated a spice rack you used to spend $50 a month refilling. This zone will run you $300 to $500 to install and pay you back in the first 2 summers. And it looks so good the neighbors think you hired a landscaper, which is the closest thing to a superpower a homesteader gets in a suburb. But plants are only half of a working system. The other half walks around on 2 legs. Zone 5, the quail corner. For most cities, chickens are complicated. Zoning restrictions, coop setbacks, rooster bans, HOA fights. Coturnix quail in a lot of the same jurisdictions are classified differently and slip right through the loophole. Feathered, quiet, small enough that most neighbors never notice, and productive enough that 6 birds cover your family's egg needs. A single coturnix hen lays 250 to 300 eggs a year and reaches butcher weight in 6 to 8 weeks. A stacked quail cage in a 10 by 10 corner holds 20 to 30 birds, which is enough for eggs, meat, and hatching your next generation. Feed conversion runs a little under 3 pounds of feed per pound of bird, better than most chickens, and the manure is dry, low odor, and drops straight into the compost. Check your local rules before you buy the first hatchling, and if you're evaluating a property for this kind of setup, the Before You Buy Land Guide has a zoning checklist that saves you from finding out the wrong way. Grab it in the description or scan the QR code on screen. Quail give you protein, but protein without soil is a dead end. Zone 6, the closed-loop compost hub. Everything on this list, the kitchen garden, the vertical walls, the fruit ring, the berry edge, the quail, either produces waste or eats compost. The hub is what closes the loop. 2 systems side by side. A simple 3-bin hot compost using pallets or cinder blocks handles yard waste, coffee grounds, and quail litter. A worm bin, a plastic tote with a lid and a pound of red wigglers, handles kitchen scraps. That single pound of worms will process about half a pound of food waste a day, and a family of 4 generates roughly 4 to 5 pounds a day, so scale accordingly. 2 or 3 totes are usually enough. Worm castings test several times higher in available nutrients than regular finished compost, which is why a shovel full of castings under a tomato transplant is the closest thing to gardening magic that isn't magic. On our lot, the compost hub took a weekend to build and paid itself the first summer in fertilizer we didn't buy. Everything cycles, nothing leaves. That's a system. And the last zone is what protects it from the calendar. Zone 7, the season extender. A tenth of an acre with a growing season that only runs May to October is a tenth of an acre working part-time. A 10 by 12 mini greenhouse or a run of 3 cold frames pushes your usable calendar 4 to 6 weeks in either direction and lets you overwinter greens like spinach, kale, mache, and claytonia through months when the grocery store is charging $7 for a bag of arugula flown in from the desert. Add gutters that route into 2 55-gallon rainwater barrels, legal in most states, restricted in a few, so check yours, and 1,000 square feet of roof will catch you roughly 620 gallons for every inch of rain that falls. That's most of your summer irrigation, free off the sky. This is another spot where the Before You Buy Land Guide earns its keep. It has a full breakdown of water math and how to size storage. Link is in the description and the QR code is on screen. Grab it before the free window closes, because a season extender without water is just an expensive greenhouse. Now, let me tell you how I actually built this on my own lot. 3 years ago, I was standing in a lawn, not a garden. A lawn. 4,200 square feet of Kentucky bluegrass that I mowed every Saturday and fertilized twice a year with a bag of fertilizer that cost $38 and made the water bill jump every July. I was buying our vegetables at the grocery store, complaining about the prices, and convinced I needed to move to the country before we could grow anything real. 2 of our kids were school-aged. My wife was working full-time. The idea that a tenth of an acre could feed us felt like Pinterest talking. Then I read a book on French-intensive market gardens and started measuring. Just measuring. I sketched the 7 zones on a legal pad and started with Zone 1 because it was the cheapest to build. 4 raised beds, salvaged lumber, 36 bags of compost, about $200 total. That first summer, we pulled just under 400 pounds of vegetables out of that one zone. Not 400 pounds of everything, 400 pounds of just the keyhole. My wife stopped buying salad greens in June and didn't start again until October. That's when the math stopped being theoretical. By year 2, we added the fruit ring and the berry edge. By year 3, we had quail, cold frames, and compost. Last year, the 4 of us produced roughly 1,600 pounds of food off a lot people used to call a starter home yard. That's when I stopped being a skeptic and became a convert. Before you sketch any single bed, let me save you from the mistakes that wreck most urban homestead layouts. Mistake 1. Planting before you watch the sun. You've got maybe 4 hours of light where you think you've got 8. because the neighbor's garage, your own house, and a mature maple are all eating your light between 2 and 6 p.m. Watch the sun cross your lot for 2 full weeks before you drive a single stake. Mistake 2. Starting too many zones at once. Every zone I just showed you is a full project. Build 1 per season, finish it, then move on. People who try to build all 7 in year 1 usually finish 0 and put the property back on the market by August. Mistake 3. Skipping the soil test. A cheap soil test through your county extension office will tell you whether your lot used to be a gas station, whether your pH is going to kill your blueberries, and whether the previous owner poisoned it with weed and feed for a decade. Do it before you plant a fruit tree, because moving one is a lot more expensive than testing a cup of dirt. Mistake 4. Ignoring your zoning code. This is the one that cost people the whole project. Some cities allow quail and ban chickens. Some HOAs allow chickens and ban clotheslines. Some rainwater setups need a permit, and some don't. Call your city, not your neighbor. The Before You Buy Land Guide walks through every one of these calls step by step, and it's still free for the next 30 days. Picture your lot 18 months from now. It's a Saturday morning in June. You walk out the back door with a wicker basket in one hand and a mug of coffee in the other. The keyhole beds are heavy with tomatoes and green beans. The fence is loaded with cucumbers you'll pickle by Wednesday. The espaliered apples along the property line are setting their second crop. The quail have already laid the day's eggs. The compost bins are steaming quietly in the corner, turning last week's kitchen scraps into next month's fertility. You clip a handful of basil, pull 3 cucumbers, gather 12 quail eggs, and walk back inside to make breakfast for your family without touching a receipt. And later that afternoon, when you finally check your grocery app for the week, you realize your total is $60 because everything on the produce side already grows in your backyard. That's what a tenth of an acre looks like when every square foot has a job. Not a fantasy, a layout. And it's already been built by families smaller and busier than yours, in cities colder and denser than the one you're standing in right now. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me which of the 7 zones you're starting with first. Zone 1, the keyhole, Zone 5, the quail, or are you jumping straight to the fruit ring? I read every single comment, and I mean every one. Which brings me to somebody I want to shout out today. James Clare. I see you. Every video, every post. Without fail, you drop a comment and you always sign off with God bless Texas. You've been here longer than most and you've never missed a week. From all of us at the channel, thank you. And yes, God bless Texas right back. If the rest of you are new here and you want your name read on a future video, be like James Clare. Show up, join the conversation, and let me know you're building something. Now the guide. We just crossed 50,000 subscribers, and I've been trying to figure out the right way to say thank you. Here it is. I've bundled everything we just walked through: the site planning, the soil work, the zoning calls, the water math, the build sequence, into the Before You Buy Land Guide. And for the next 30 days, it is completely free. Link is in the description, QR code is on the screen. After 30 days, it moves into the paid library and stays there. So if you're planning your layout, evaluating a lot, or already halfway into a build, grab it now while the window is open. Next video, I'm breaking down the single crop that produces more calories per square foot than anything else on this list, and almost nobody plants it because it doesn't look pretty on a seed packet. You're going to want to see that one. Your tenth of an acre isn't too small. It never was. It was just never designed to feed you. Now you know how. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.